I used to think my life was calm and simple. I lived with my husband, Ethan, in a tall, quiet house in a city called Rivergate in Europe. The house had wide windows, soft carpets, and a small garden that smelled like fresh grass after rain. People who visited always said, "You're lucky," and I smiled as if luck was the reason. The truth was different, but I kept it hidden because I wanted peace. Every month, I paid $6,250 for the rent. I didn't tell anyone, not even my sister, Layla. I told myself it was better this way, because money can turn a home into a battlefield. Ethan acted like the house was ours, like it was something we had built together, and I let him believe it. I was pregnant, and I wanted a quiet heart more than I wanted credit. Layla came to see me often. She walked through the room slowly, looking at the furniture and the walls like she was measuring them. She would touch my curtains and smile, but her eyes were not warm. That week she hugged me and said, "When your baby comes, everything will change," and I felt a chill even though the room was warm. I was folding tiny baby clothes on the bed when a strange feeling hit me. It was not the baby's kick, not morning sickness, not the usual tiredness. It was the feeling you get when something is wrong, even if nobody has said it yet. The house was quiet, but the quiet did not feel gentle. It felt tense. I had just smoothed a little white shirt when I heard my name, soft and careful, coming from downstairs. At first I told myself it was nothing. Layla talked a lot, and she loved saying my name like it was the center of every story. But then I heard Ethan's voice too, low and slow, the voice he used when he wanted to sound calm. They were in the living room, near the window that looked into the garden. I moved to the top of the stairs and stopped. I held the rail, so I wouldn't make a sound. Layla said, "You need to stop letting her run everything." Her words were sharp. "She acts sweet, but she keeps things from you. You need to be smart too." Ethan didn't answer right away. I heard a short laugh, not happy, just nervous. Then Layla went on, "Listen, when the child is born, that's your chance. You should leave her. Do it fast. Take the house, take the car, and take whatever money is in the house. Don't wait until she gets stronger. Throw her out before she throws you out." My chest tightened. I almost stepped down the stairs without thinking, but I forced myself to stay still. The words "take the house" hit me hard because they didn't know what I knew. The house in Rivergate in Europe was rented, and the rent was $6,250 every month, paid by me. It felt like they were fighting over a crown that was made of paper. Still, the way Layla spoke about me made my stomach turn. In her mouth, I wasn't a wife or a sister. I was a target. Ethan finally said, "Layla, that's serious." His voice sounded careful, like he was testing the floor before he walked. Layla answered fast, "Life is serious. You deserve the house. You deserve the car. And if there's money hidden, you deserve that too." Ethan sighed, and that sigh cut deeper than a shout. He did not defend me. He did not say, "Stop talking about my wife." Instead he said, "I don't know, she's been acting different. Like she's planning something." I stepped back from the stairs, slow, like I was moving away from a wild animal. I went into the bedroom and closed the door with my hand on the knob, so it wouldn't click. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the baby clothes. The little shirt looked like hope, and for a moment my eyes filled with tears. I wiped my face quickly. I told myself crying would not fix anything. I needed to think. I looked around the room, and everything felt changed. The curtains I chose, the lamp I bought, the quiet corners where I had dreamed of rocking my child. I thought about all the small choices I made to keep our home calm. I thought about how I let Ethan say our house and our life, because I wanted love to feel simple. But now love felt like a plan being made behind my back. Layla's jealousy didn't surprise me anymore. Ethan's silence did. I picked up my phone and opened the Notes app. My hands were steady now, and that surprised me. I wrote 3 lines. The house is rented. The rent is $6,250. The car is in my name. I wrote them like facts, not feelings. Then I added one more line. Do not argue. Do not beg. Speak once, clearly. Downstairs, their voices became a blur, like noise from a TV in another room. The only clear thing was this: they were planning my life without me, and I had to step back into my own. A little later, Layla's laughter floated up the stairs, bright and fake, and Ethan's voice answered, softer. I placed my hand on my belly and whispered, "I'm here." It wasn't a prayer to anyone else. It was a promise to myself and to the child inside me. In that moment, I stopped seeing the house as a dream. I saw it as a stage, and I saw the people on it for who they were. I stood up, took a deep breath, and decided I would not let them surprise me again. If I had to start over, I could. I even pictured America, a clean new apartment, and a fresh key in my pocket, and my name on the door. They left the house after lunch, and they did it like nothing was wrong. Layla fixed her hair in the hall mirror, smiling at herself, and Ethan put on his coat with slow hands. He asked me if I needed anything from the store, like he hadn't just stood downstairs and listened to my sister talk about taking my life apart. I said, "No, I'm fine," and my voice sounded normal. That part scared me. I didn't feel normal inside, but I could act like it, and I knew I would need that calm face in the hours ahead. When the front door closed, the house felt different. It was the same rooms, the same curtains, the same smell of tea in the kitchen, but the air felt thinner, like it could tear. I walked from room to room, not because I was lost, but because I was trying to hold my thoughts together. I looked at the living room couch where Layla had sat many times, looking around like she was already choosing what she would take. I touched the keys hanging by the door and thought, this place is not my safety. It is just a building I pay for. I went to the kitchen table and opened my folder drawer, the one I kept for bills and papers. The lease was there, clean and clear, with my name printed in simple black letters. I traced my name with my finger once, like I needed to remind myself I was real. Then I checked my phone and opened my banking app. The rent payment showed up again and again, month after month, $6,250. I took screenshots, not because I planned some dramatic fight, but because I had learned that truth is easier to carry when it is backed by proof. I called the landlord, Mr. Collins, a polite man with a tired voice. He answered after 2 rings. "Hello," I said. "It's me, the tenant from Rivergate." He knew right away. "Yes, of course. Is everything all right with the house?" I kept my voice gentle. "The house is fine," I said. "I just need to confirm something. The lease is only in my name, correct?" There was a short pause while he checked, and then he said, "Yes, only your name is on it." My stomach eased a little, like a tight knot loosening. I thanked him and ended the call. The truth sat in my hands like a strong stone. Then I called a woman I trusted, Olivia, who worked with legal papers. She was not my close friend, but she was kind, and she spoke in a clear way that made me feel less confused. I told her, without the messy feelings, what I had heard and what I feared. Olivia didn't gasp or judge. She simply said, "Keep your proof. Don't argue in circles. Say one clear statement, and don't add extra words. Also, make sure your important documents are safe." I looked at the small stack of papers in my drawer, my ID, my medical records, the car documents. I gathered them into a bag and placed the bag where I could reach it fast. For a moment, I stood by the window and watched the garden move in the wind. I tried to imagine the baby's face, the tiny hands, the soft hair. I told myself I could still have a good life. A life in America if I chose it. A quiet apartment in a city with a new name, somewhere like Stonebridge, where nobody knew my sister's voice or my husband's secrets. I didn't need a grand plan. I only needed one brave step at a time. 2 hours later, I heard the front door open. Layla came in first, loud and confident, her shoes tapping the floor like she owned the path. Ethan was behind her, quieter, looking at his phone. Layla walked into the living room and sat down like she was tired from shopping, even though I didn't see any bags. She crossed her legs and looked up at me with a small smile that felt sharp. "We had such a nice talk," she said. I didn't answer that. I stood near the doorway, holding my phone and the folder in my hand. I said, "Layla, I need to tell you something." She waved her hand like she was bored already. "Go on." I took a slow breath, keeping my voice easy. This house is rented, I said. It's not owned by Ethan.
It's not owned by me.
I pay the rent every month. $6,250. I didn't shout it. I didn't throw it like an insult. I said it like I was reading the weather. Her smile dropped. Her eyes widened, and her face changed so fast it was almost strange to watch. No, she said, very softly, like a child refusing a hard fact. That's not true. I lifted the folder a little. It's true. The lease is in my name. The rent comes from my account. I have proof of every payment. Layla stared at me, then turned her head toward Ethan like he could correct the world for her. Ethan, she said, and her voice shook. Ethan's face looked tight, like he was trying to hide fear under anger. Layla stood up too quickly. You're lying, she said, but the words sounded weak. I kept my eyes on hers. I'm not lying, I said. And the car is in my name as well. There is no hidden money in drawers. There is nothing here to steal. The room felt silent, heavy and thick. Layla's hand lifted to her chest. Her breathing turned fast and small. She looked around the room again, but now her eyes weren't measuring the furniture. They were searching for a way out of the truth. Then her knees went soft. She swayed, as if the floor moved under her. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She fell sideways, hitting the rug with a dull thud, her scarf slipping off her shoulder. For a second, I didn't move. Not because I didn't care, but because I felt frozen by how quickly lies can collapse. Ethan rushed forward and knelt beside her, calling her name. Layla. Layla. His voice was loud now, full of panic. He looked up at me like I had done something cruel. What did you say to her? He snapped. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't step back. I said, I told her the truth. He stared at me, breathing hard. In his eyes, I saw anger, yes, but I also saw something else. I saw that he had believed my silence meant I was weak. And now he understood that I was not. Layla's eyes fluttered open, and she blinked at the ceiling as if she had woken in a different life. She tried to sit up, and Ethan helped her. Her face was pale, and she avoided looking at me. I stood there with my folder in hand, feeling the baby shift inside me, steady and present. In that moment, I knew chapter 3 of my life was ending. I didn't know every detail of what came next, but I knew one thing with full certainty. Nobody would throw me out of my own story again. The house stayed quiet after Layla opened her eyes again, but it was not the same kind of quiet as before. It was the quiet that comes after a glass breaks. Ethan helped her sit up on the couch, and she kept staring at the floor like the rug had answers. I stood near the doorway, holding the folder with the lease papers, and I felt my baby move inside me as if to remind me that I wasn't alone. My hands were calm, but my heart was firm in a way I had never felt before. Ethan finally spoke, and his voice was low, almost threatening. Why didn't you tell me the house was rented? I looked at him and answered honestly. Because I wanted peace. Because I didn't want to hear you talk like this house made you bigger than me. He frowned, as if my peace was a crime. Layla tried to sit straighter, but she looked weak, like her pride had taken the fall, not her body. You humiliated me, she whispered. I nodded once. No, Layla. You humiliated yourself when you planned to take what wasn't yours. Layla's eyes flashed for a second. I was trying to protect Ethan, she said, but her words sounded like a lie even to her. Ethan didn't defend her this time. He stayed quiet, and that silence told me he was thinking about the same thing I was thinking, how close he came to walking into a plan that would have ruined me. I wanted to scream at him, but I didn't. I had learned that screaming wastes breath, and breath is precious when you are carrying a child. I walked to the kitchen and poured water into a glass. I placed it in front of Layla on the table. Drink, I said, not gently, not harshly, just clear. She drank like she had no choice. Ethan followed me into the kitchen, and I could feel him trying to pull me into an argument. You listened to us, he said. You spied. I turned and met his eyes. You betrayed me first, I said. You let my sister talk about throwing me out like I'm trash. You didn't stop her. You didn't protect me. And you didn't protect our child either, because a child feels everything.
His face tightened.
So what now? He asked. I set my folder on the counter and opened it. I slid the lease paper toward him. Now you understand something, I said. This house is not a prize. It is a rented place that I pay for. You can't take it. Layla can't take it. And you can't scare me with words about leaving me, because I can leave too. For the first time, Ethan looked unsure. Where would you go? He asked, like he expected me to have no answer. I took a slow breath and said the truth I had been holding in my chest for weeks. America, I said. I have a job offer there. In a city called Brighton Bay. It's not a palace. It's not a show. It's work and safety and a fresh start. Layla's head lifted fast. You can't just run, she said. I looked at her and kept my voice steady. I'm not running, I said. I'm choosing. That night I packed in small, careful steps. I didn't throw clothes into bags like a movie scene. I folded them, one by one, because folding kept my mind straight. I packed my documents, my medical papers, and the baby's things, tiny shirts, small socks, a soft blanket. I put my laptop in a padded sleeve. I counted my cash, not much, just enough for the first days, and I made sure all my savings were safe in my own account. I didn't take anything dramatic from the house, because most of it wasn't worth a fight. I didn't need to win furniture. I needed to win time. Ethan stood in the doorway of the spare room and watched me. You're really doing this, he said, like he couldn't believe I had a spine. I kept folding. Yes, I said. And I want you to understand why. I paused, then added, it's not only because of Layla. It's because you listened. You didn't shut it down. You let the idea grow. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to argue, but no good excuse came out. He was a man who liked comfort more than truth, and that was dangerous. Layla tried one last move. The next morning she showed up with a soft voice and watery eyes, acting like the victim again. I didn't mean it like that, she said. I was just worried about you. I stared at her for a long moment. Layla, I said, you were worried about yourself. You wanted control. You wanted to be the person pulling the strings. Her eyes turned hard again, and the tears vanished like they had never been real. So you think you're better than me now? She snapped. I shook my head. No, I said. I think I'm awake now. Before I left, I called Mr. Collins again and told him I would be ending the lease soon. I paid one last rent payment of $6,250 because I keep my word even when my life is messy. Then I arranged a smaller place for a short time, just until my flight. It was in a quieter part of Rivergate, still in Europe, with plain walls and a simple bed. It wasn't pretty, but it felt like breathing. I also booked my ticket to America, and when I saw the price on the screen, I didn't flinch. I told myself, this is not a cost. This is a door. On my final day in the old house, I walked through the room slowly. I touched the doorframe near the kitchen where Ethan used to lean and joke. I looked at the window where Layla had stood pretending to admire the garden while planning my downfall. I felt sadness, yes, but not the kind that breaks you. It was the kind that clears space. I placed my hand on my belly and whispered, we're going to be okay. At the front door, Ethan asked in a flat voice, are you going to take everything? I looked at him and almost smiled because he still didn't understand. No, I said. I'm taking myself. I lifted my bag and stepped outside. The air was cold, but it felt clean. I didn't turn back again, not because I hated them, but because I was done living with people who saw love as a deal. Later, when I arrived in America, the first thing I noticed was the light. It looked different, like the sky had more room. Brighton Bay was busy and loud, but it didn't know my old pain, and that felt like freedom. I rented a small apartment with plain white walls. I paid the first month in pounds because I could and because the choice was mine. I put a chair near the window and sat there, holding my belly, listening to my own breathing. When people ask me what happened, I don't tell them a long story full of shouting and drama. I tell them the simple truth. My sister tried to steal my life through my husband, and my husband let her. And I learned something important. A home is not a house, and love is not words. Love is loyalty and respect and protection. If someone can't give you that, then the bravest thing you can do is close the door, pick up your bag, and step into the life that is truly yours.